Normally, I do speak about the Rohingya issue, but because I was aware that Professor Chani was on the call, I thought I'd speak some moments about Indian minorities. But I know it's already been very much well covered by my colleagues previously. And so again, this is more of an affirmation of what's already been discussed. I think when we're discussing kind of the polemics and the issues for minorities across India, a few key headline communities must be mentioned as immediate examples of minority persecution in India. So pre and post partition, Dalits, or the so-called scheduled class or untouchable persecution, has been practiced by the state and the institutions of society. And this level of discrimination continues until today and is still part of the debate of minority persecution in India. But in more recent times, there has been a shift more towards Muslim communities in India, and there are many clear examples that can be called upon. As already previously mentioned, only a few days ago was the day that marked 1 year of the abrogation and removal of the special status of Kashmir. And as I'm sure everyone is already aware, Kashmir is one of the most heavily militarized zones in the world. At the time of partition in 1947, Kashmir had been given a special status through Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, which in essence gave them some sort of autonomous governance, as well as Article 35A, which gave Kashmiris kind of exclusivity over land ownership, access to government jobs and educational services. And at that time, in 1947, Kashmir was also promised a referendum or a plebiscite to decide whether or not its subjects, Kashmiris, were to seek India, Pakistan, or seek independence in its entirety. So when these Articles 370 and 35A were removed last year, we basically are seeing a settler colonialism by the Indian state on Kashmir, as well as an actual move towards demography change in that state as well. In Assam, the exercise of the NRC, or the National Register of Citizens, led to 1.9 million people having their citizenship revoked or taken away from them. And the NRC exercise particularly sought to be successful, I suppose, in labeling Bengali-speaking Muslims and Hindus as aliens to the state. And alongside the NRC, along the same sort of time, and to kind of supplement the NRC and this deregistering of people as citizens, there was an introduction of the CAA, or the Citizenship Amendment. And essentially that piece of legislation grants citizenship and refuge to religious communities fleeing persecution from neighboring countries. But crucially, it excludes Muslims. And in response to this quite openly anti-Muslim constitutional amendment, Muslim communities were subjected to state-led programs across Delhi just 6 months ago. I mean, it's such a short time ago. It doesn't, you know, with COVID, it feels like it's an entire lifetime ago, but it was only just 6 months ago in January, February time that this happened. Ambedkar, in his thesis, Annihilation of Caste, mentions a very specific example of a Dalit family who had basically prepared some meal with buttered ghee, and that particular family was attacked. The gathering was destroyed by higher caste Hindus on the principle that Dalits were not worthy of the luxury of buttered ghee. This type of targeting of communities has really been the reason why, since partition, there's been such a huge focus on by the Indian state on issues such as social and political reform. In today's India, the rule of law has been manipulated more and more to become representative of a Hindu majoritarian agenda, a drive towards nationalism and ethno-linguistic supremacy. There are communities across India, not just Muslims, who face the brunt of this. So the Bodos of Assam, the Nagas of Nagaland, the Sikhs in Punjab, the Kashmiris, as I've already mentioned, they all have legitimate claims to self-governance and autonomy. But communalism and the rise of communalism and the threat of being accused of sedition, and of course violence, for example, the November 1984 Sikh genocide, has really paved the way to silence Punjabi freedom calls. The NRC and the threat of other NRCs and NPRs have quietened down the Bodos and the Nagas freedom calls in the northeast of India. Constitutional reform through the removal of Article 370 and 35A have been designed and implemented to remove the independence movement for the Kashmiris. The CAA and subsequent Delhi programs have positioned Muslims front and center of a tiered citizenship in India. And with its glitzy marketing, its NRI, non-resident Indian foreign investment dollars, a monopolized media, a film industry, India is indeed experiencing the social and political reform that was needed at partition. However, that reform looks and feels increasingly like victimizing minority communities along the lines of ethno-religious and linguistic nationalism. Social reforms are such that sedition claims and communal discourse have become rife as the RSS-backed BJP India heads towards a state of settler colonialism and permanent attempts of demographic change in order to serve its guiding principles of Hindutva supremacy ideology, and that is Hindi for Hindus in Hindustan. Thank you.